The first thing worth understanding about Paul, before he is a symbol or a weapon or a king, he is a person who was never really allowed to just be a person. From the moment he was born, he was the product of an agenda that had nothing to do with him. The Bene Gesserit had spent generations carefully engineering a bloodline, selecting for specific traits, steering human genetics towards something they had decided the future needed. Paul was the result. He didn't arrive in the world as a blank slate with the freedom to become whatever he chose. He arrived already written. And what makes that psychologically interesting is that Paul is acutely aware of it. He found out about the breeding program, about the Kwisatz Haderach. He knows that the visions he's been having since childhood are not dreams. They are something his own mind is doing to him, something baked into his biology by people who died long before he was born. Most people navigate identity by asking, "Who am I?" Paul has to ask, "How much of what I am was chosen for me?" That is an enormously heavy thing to carry, and it colors every decision he makes throughout both films. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. If you're new here, welcome. Genuinely glad you found this. And if you've been here for a while, you already know what we do. So let's get into it. Duke Leto was Paul's clearest model of what a good man looks like in a corrupt world. A leader who genuinely cared about the people under him, who tried to operate with integrity inside a system that rewarded neither. And Paul watched him be destroyed by that system. Watched the man who represented goodness and decency get dismantled by people with more power and fewer scruples. And I think this is a moment the films handle with real care that sometimes gets overlooked in the broader conversation about Paul's arc. That experience leaves Paul with a lesson, a deeply painful one, about what integrity costs in a world that doesn't value it. Understanding that helps explain a lot of what comes later. Paul abandons the naivety he associates with his father's approach. There's a difference between losing your values and losing your belief that values alone are enough to protect you. And it matters for understanding how he thinks. Now here is what I think is the most underexplored dimension of Paul as a character, and it's the thing that separates him from almost any other figure in fiction. Paul can see the future. Not perfectly, not with complete control, but with enough clarity to know, with reasonable certainty, what the consequences of his choices will be. And what he sees is that nearly every path available to him leads somewhere terrible. The visions don't show him a clean route through. They show him a landscape of bad options and worse options. And the task he faces is simply this: how do I choose between forms of catastrophe? That is a completely different psychological experience than anything we normally ask characters or people to navigate. And I think the films do a remarkable job of showing the weight of it on Paul's face. The more clearly Paul can see, the less freedom he has. Because once you know what's coming, every moment of not acting feels like a choice too. The moment Paul drinks the water of life is the hinge of his entire character arc. And this is really important because I think it's richer than it first appears. He has been resisting the prophecy. He has been watching Chani pull away from him because she refuses to participate in what the Southern Fremen are building around him. He is losing the one relationship that kept him anchored to something human and authentic. And the visions are becoming harder to hold. The future is pressing in. Drinking the water of life is Paul deciding to stop fighting what he is. There is nothing joyful in that scene. He steps into the messianic role with a kind of terrible resignation. He becomes the Mahdi because he has run out of the energy it takes to be anything else. That distinction is crucial for understanding him. His transformation is an exhaustion, a surrender to inevitability as he understands it. Whether that surrender was truly inevitable, or whether Paul simply stopped believing it wasn't, That is the question the film leaves open, and it is a very human question. Also, one of the most important tools the films give us for understanding Paul is Chani. She functions as the version of Paul that made different choices. She grew up in the same world he was thrust into. She has lived her whole life under the weight of Harkonnen oppression. She has every reason to want revolution, to want a figure to rally behind, to want the prophecy to be real. And she refuses all of it. Chani's skepticism comes from a deep, protective love for her people, a love that makes her unwilling to let them be used, even for a cause that might benefit them. She watches Paul, and she sees, clearly, that the belief being built around him will cost the Fremen something they cannot get back. And when Paul stops resisting that process, she treats it as a personal loss, because it is. What Chani reflects back at Paul, and at us, is the possibility of a different kind of strength. The strength to refuse the narrative being written around you, even when it would give you everything you wanted. Paul could not find that strength, or chose not to. Chani could. And the film doesn't tell us which of them was right. It just shows us both, and lets the distance between them speak. After sitting with all of this, here's how I understand Paul Atreides as a character. He is a person who was shaped by forces beyond his control, who faced a genuinely impossible situation, and who made choices that were neither simply good nor simply evil, but were deeply, recognizably realistic. He chose certainty over hope. He chose action over paralysis. He chose the path he could see over the ones he couldn't, even when the path he could see was a terrible one. Paul is one of the greatest characters in modern science fiction because he is a warning dressed in the clothing of a hero. The writer understood that the most dangerous figures in history are rarely the ones who want destruction. They're the ones who believe they can see clearly enough to justify it. Paul is certain. And that certainty is the most dangerous thing of all. That is what I keep coming back to with Paul. What it means to be the kind of person who would make the choices he made, and whether, in his position, with his knowledge and his grief and his exhaustion, any of us would have done differently. I don't think that question has a comfortable answer, and I think that's exactly the point. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you read him. Like and subscribe if you're new to Beyond the Screen, and I'll see you in the next one.